Peace and welcome to Be Aware. Be aware of your thoughts. Welcome to 2023, where I'm feeling so different for the growth since the beginning of this podcast station. Today, let's talk about freedom. Freedom. Let's free one another. Free the people that's around you. Let them express themselves, and you express yourself. It's all expressions of God. Listen to the podcast. We must allow each other to be free. If not, the progress and development of the individual are stunted or limited in many areas of their lives. The intellectual understanding, awareness, academic progress, and emotional development all become stifled. In fact, even trauma is experienced when one is forced to live against one's will. Could you imagine what would have happened if Sarah didn't allow Abraham to move from his homeland to a new land? Genesis 12:1 says, "The Lord has said to Abram, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. All families of the earth shall be blessed through you if you make this move." Genesis 22:18 says, "In your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." And when you look at the lost tribes of Israel today, this world is indeed blessed as promised as they return. Because of the powerful influence that a woman has on her mate, Sarah could have easily beguiled him into staying, simply because the message to move had not been given to her. So she was unaware of this command, and she wished to stay around her family and loved ones, if she had wished that. We are incapable of knowing what messages another person receives from God. What appeared as his desire to move was revealed secretly to him by God. The messages we secretly receive are God's way of expressing himself through us and having his will expressed. Therefore, we cannot get in the way of anyone's path. If Sarah had insisted, they might have stayed. But then that powerful promise for God to make Abraham a great nation, if he left Palestine, would not have been fulfilled. Abraham and his descendants would bless all the world's nations if he had made that move. Abraham moved. All families of the earth are blessed. Genesis 22:18 says, "In your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." And when you look at the lost tribes of Israel today, this world is indeed blessed as promised, if only to know the name of God and to call on him. Let's look at Will Smith and Jada Smith's situation at the Academy Awards 2022. The slap heard around the world, as it has begun to be known. Did Jada influence Will simply with a look? It wouldn't be the first time a person, male or female, simply used a look to persuade another person to act as they wished them to act and not as the person would otherwise act. Did her look impact his otherwise freedom of the night as he embraced the comical nature of the show that evening, evidenced by the comedians hosting the show? It was a comedic night from the beginning to the end. Certain parents do it all the time. They can simply give a look to a child and influence a child to behave other than the child, him or herself, wishes. That child, and I understand the reasons why some behaviors must be controlled, has limited freedom. Look, or I should say lack of freedom, shows up between ethnic groups. Because of the culture of America, Many blacks do not express their freedom because there is, in many cases, an understood conduct of behavior that comes from a habitual way of thinking, which has become so embedded that it is a powerful influence on the emotional psyche of African Americans, regardless of their status. It's like an invisible fight or line of defense that's undertaken by all who receives recognition that was once denied in American society. There is always a double consciousness operating, seeing themselves through two eyes, as W.E.B. Du Bois's work in The Souls of Black Folks reads. It's looking at oneself through the eyes and measuring our worth through the eyes of, in America's case, through the eyes of a dominating culture. How can one live free with this ever-present thought, coupled with the thoughts of being born in sin, therefore being an everlasting sinner, believing and shouting that I can't breathe, and wholeheartedly singing on a national level that we are not worthy? It's no wonder why so many are trapped and depressed and lack freedom. Yes, even in 2023. It's not hard to see. If you have a powerful voice that questions that the status quo, and they can affect the masses, they are usually blackballed, silenced, or killed. Look at Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. So freedom of speech is not permitted. Look at the many who conform and assimilate so well that they look and act like clones of the same culture, which dismisses them. All this happens on all levels, from the common citizen to officials, to entertainers, to officials in the White House, and to those sworn to protect. An example would be the 5 black officers that recently beat Ty Nichols, 29, to death on January 27th, 2023. Yes, entanglements exist everywhere. To keep the peace of the more powerful influencer, people are always succumbing or failing to resist temptation or some other negative pressure. Wives succumb to their husbands, husbands succumb to their wives, and children succumb to their parents. Workers succumb to their bosses. Citizens succumb to higher agencies in society. Nations succumb to nations. Freedom is lost on all levels. All of this leads to entrapment and feelings of unhappiness, because each person is giving up their divine will to be yoked to another's will. They are sacrificing their happiness, joy, and enthusiasm as they suppress their will. How many people are enthusiastic about life that you know? How about yourself? A study of the etymology or the study of the origin of a word is in order here. The ancient definition of enthusiasm comes from the Greek word entheos, meaning the God within. So to be enthusiastic is to literally be filled with the light, presence, perspective, and energy of God within. Cian D. Rohan, in her book, The Right Use of Will, says that an individual enthusiasm expresses itself as feelings, emotions, receptivity, intuition, and desire. Yes, feelings are the secret. When we suppress our feelings, we become unhappy. Think about it. Think back. Look back on your life. So how can we make this work for us? It can work if each one lets the other one express what and how they want to express. We can begin with ourselves and then those around us. Do not be afraid that if each person followed their will in your immediate encounters, that there will be chaos. Begin with communing with the Most High and allow God to be your guide. Teach your children about accepting God's guidance through your example and your learning truth principles yourself. God did not mean for mankind to take over the will of another or to rule over one another. Each person is to rule over their own mental kingdom. And every biblical example of a kingdom is meant for lessons on how to do so. So be aware of your thoughts. Let go of believing that you are not worthy. Stop singing that. Stop believing that you can breathe. We can breathe. We can breathe. Don't be afraid of the desires you see within and that arise in you. Begin to learn about intuition and see why it's safe to follow your intuition. And if you must judge anything, judge your feelings. If it doesn't feel right, it's a lie. Still, peace and shalom. Shalom. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Do you feel trapped at times? Discover a different approach to become aware of your deepest thoughts, because a lot of times that's what's in our way. Listen as I share my stories on my podcasts, my books, and my YouTube channel. Let me share my powerful secrets of 40 years of self-realization so that you can become powerful as well, or more powerful is what I should say as well. Shalom.